Equilibrium, a state of perfect balance. Isn't that something we all seek in our life? But what does equilibrium look like in the corporate space? This is where corporate social responsibility comes in, where it seeks to find a balance between the people, the planet, and the profit. But how does a business measure its impact on all these three aspects? We at Sambodhi have found stories to be the best way to capture both tangible and intangible impacts. To this end, we bring to you a conversation series called CSR Unplugged, where we'll be joined by industry experts from across the nation and delve deeper into the nuances that are often left uncaptured. Today, we are joined by Sajid Ali, the Chief Operating Officer of Tech Mahindra Foundation. Tech Mahindra Foundation has an expansive portfolio and they work in the areas such as education, employment, and they also work with people with disability. Join us in this episode as we go deeper into the nuances of the work that they do. Hi, Sajid. Thank you for being part of this conversation. It's a pleasure to have you here. So in your work, in your experience of working with Tech Mahindra Foundation, you might have come across a lot of success stories. But behind these success stories, there might be a lot of drivers or indicators that cannot be measured. So are there any stories where these indicators have been a catalyst to drive the program or the initiative that you're doing and brought about tangible results?
Yeah. So see, in this sector, there is a saying that, if you can't measure it, it does not exist. So what you are calling of intangible benefits, these can be measured. But why these are not measured is a question. These are not measured because we don't design the program in advance. Right? So we only work on the activities and then roll out the program.
So in terms of boost in confidence or, shift in mindset, are there any stories?
Changing mindset is not very easy. It's a very difficult thing. But when it has to change, it can be changed overnight, or one statement can change the mindset of a particular student. I'll give you my own example. I don't know whether this will be relevant to this interview or not. But I have been an average student, slightly below average. My parents never received my complaint from the teachers. That kind of shy kid. I was in my 9th grade and there used to be a teacher who used to teach us physics and chemistry. Everybody goofed up in that unit test. First time in 9th grade, everybody goofed up. All of us failed. Most of us got 0. Few of them got 1 out of 10. I got 1. And my teacher called me up and said, "Beta, I expected a lot from you. Come on, why is this teacher, who is supposed to be the best teacher in the school, is expecting from me, who is below average?" And this one statement of us changed my mindset. After that, I never looked back. Because there is somebody who is expecting something from me and I'm not delivering. Her 6 years of teaching didn't help me, despite being one of the best teachers. But one statement changed my mindset. Right? So this was about the personal thing which changed my mindset. I'll give you one example from one of our programs. We have a healthcare academy in Delhi. Most of our students are coming from lower socioeconomic backgrounds where gender inclusion is still not very a big thing like we talk about it. I'm talking about a story which was 5 years back. So our CEO, then CEO, ex-bureaucrat, she said, "I want to do a gender workshop on my own with the kids." So we got 100 students in a hall. Few of them were girls, few of them were boys. And we did a workshop and we thought that this is waste of an exercise. Nobody changes in a workshop, right? Change in mindset requires maybe years, if not months, sometimes even decades. How do you expect this CEO delivering a session and expecting that people will change their mindset? So after 14 days, we took a refresher training with those kids. And we asked, what was your experience? Did you reflect on what we did 2 weeks back? So one boy stood up and he said that, yes, I reflected a lot and I changed something in my family. That's what did you do? That he said that I have my parents, my elder brother, my younger brother and me in the family. And apart from that, we have our sister-in-law, my elder brother's wife. So most of the time, she is the one who cooks. When my mother is not well, she washes clothes for all of us. And she is the one who is doing everything in the household. And all of us are just sitting on the couch and watching television or doing our own work. So we asked, what change did you make? He said, at least I can wash my own clothes.
So that shift in mindset.
That shift in mindset happens when it has to happen. It can happen in a second also. and if done in a right way at the right time.
You were talking about intangible variables. So trust is also an intangible variable, and it's very important when it comes to building a relationship with the community that you're serving. So how does your foundation build trust with the community that it serves? And are there any stories that jumps out to you in this context?
So if we are transparent to our beneficiaries and to the stakeholders in the ecosystem, then trust starts building. You may not be able to deliver what you promised, but you are at least transparent. If you openly accept to your beneficiaries that we could not achieve what we wanted to, and this was the reason, and we are sorry for that, but next year we will try to do that. That's where trust starts building up. Nobody expects anything in return, but transparency solves all of the problems. Now you asked about the stories. I'll tell you stories. Who can be more vulnerable than a woman who has been abused right after the marriage? By her own husband, by her own in-laws. Somebody who has been a victim of domestic violence, have been divorced with young kids to take care of without any education. Now, how do you expect this woman to trust men in particularly and then the society? Right? So we have been doing healthcare academy, and Mumbai Academy, for instance, is all women academy where guard and everybody is women. And that was not something which was part of the design. But since it is placed inside a girls' convent school, to be on a safer side, we thought that, okay, let's do it all girls. It will be safety, this thing also, and it will be a nice statement to make. Honestly, this was the premise on which we started. And when we started enrolling students, to our surprise, many of the widows started coming in. Domestic violence victims, single mothers started coming to the institute. And when we realized what different did we do here, it was no different project than Pune, than Chandigarh, than any other place, than Delhi. But why is it that only at this place women are coming and vulnerable women are coming? Trust me, it was only the branding of the academy. Calling it all women academy, it was very transparent. These women started trusting that this is a safe zone where they can go and learn. But we all know we cannot create safe zone everywhere. So now for a 6 months course, we have 6 months with that woman to regain the confidence on society, on men and men also, right? And now these women are working in hospitals. They are not scared of any men now because we got 6 months. And how we got that 6 months? Because we call it all women academy, right? So that one step has to be taken to bring them out of this thing. That's how it has happened. And, last week we celebrated our 8th anniversary of our Delhi Academy. And students were there, alumni were there. Now, the passion that we see in their eyes, they don't trust foundation. I mean, even if they trust, they don't say in many words, but they trust their teacher, right? And when you trust your teacher, it is a wonderful thing to achieve, a wonderful relationship to build. In our academy, when I started evaluating how trust works, and this whole trust thing came to us from a story. I had sent my crew to shoot a video of a girl who lives in East Delhi and her father is preparing earthen pots. That's how they meet their ends. A very humble family. So when we asked her grandmother, कि आपको Tech Mahindra Foundation कैसा लगता है? Her first line was, we trust Tech Mahindra Foundation. And when the crew came back, they gave me this line. I thought, what a powerful line to have, right? Trust. This changes everything. And then we started evaluating how can we calculate the trust. So 67 families have trusted with us with more than one kid. We have siblings, mother-daughter pair studying in the same academy at the same time. Sister-in-laws studying at the academy. Husband and wife studying at the academy, and cousins are numerous. But I could easily get 67 cases in last 2 years where families have trusted us with their children, not just once, but twice, and in some cases even thrice. So that's how, magical this word is, trust.
So not just trust, but also you have developed confidence among women who lost confidence in men, and also confidence among people who have already received training in your organization, from your organization. So what really I want to understand as a foundation, you have this program called Shikshantar, where teachers are trained to make a classroom safer and happier. So in that terms, this whole process of building trust and also confidence also exists in the classroom. So can you just talk about that too?
Yeah, the Shikshantar program we started in 2000. We researched in 2012 and started in 2013. Back then, there was no CSR, so teacher training was considered to be only government's job to do, and nobody was interested in teacher training. Whatever limited experience teachers had in training, it was largely a monologue where a speaker would come and would address to a group of 100, 200, and sometimes even 500 teachers. So that kind of trainings they would have seen. And when we said that, okay, we'll set up a in-service teacher education institute, honestly, we were bored like anything, right? Nobody trusted us at that point in time that we can change something. Even the government department was skeptical, and they used to come back and tell us, "Ki sir, teacher thoda rude hai, don't worry, theek ho jayega." But we had confidence in ourselves. First training when we had, nobody was sitting inside the training room. The task was forget about learning outcome, forget about training them on any skill. The only task was to make them disciplined and to make them believe that this training will help you out at the end of the day. So with that premise, we started, and it took us 3 years to make teachers disciplined and to believe in us that, boss, if you sit in the training room, you can learn something new. It will not be boring, trust us. And it will be in a learner-friendly environment. So nobody is going to put gun on your head and then ask you to do something in the school. So with that premise, we started, and we've reached a stage where when teachers go to the strike, they are not going to the schools. But if we organize a training, they will come to the training center and not go to the school. So that kind of trust we have built. We have seen many directors, commissioners have changed. But what has remained unchanged is our relationship with the principals, with the schools, and with the teachers. And that's how the strong foundation is. People in this sector are skeptical about what happens if government leadership changes. Things will not work out and we will be back to square one. But that's not how it works. If you have your core beneficiary intact, and if they trust you and you trust them, then whatever leadership changes, whatever ecosystem changes, things will fall in place for you.
So over the course of your work with Tech Mahindra Foundation, you have touched a lot of life. Like as a foundation, a lot of lives have changed. But are there any stories that is personal to you that has touched your life?
See, all the stories are personal to us. And you see a face and you will see, if I recall anyone from the foundation, I often get tears in my eyes. So there are many stories, but two stories which are recent and which are fresh in my mind is of a girl. You know that being a girl in rural India is a challenge in itself. You face a lot of challenges. Then being a girl from rural India, on the top of it coming from a minority, right? On the top of it coming from a poor background. On the top of it having a disability, 40% disability in your leg. And then you don't have your parents also to take care of you. And when she came to us, she was ki mujhe koi bhi course de do, I want to study and I want to have my own life. And we know in healthcare, hospitals are not very open to take persons with disabilities because the logic is that they will not be able to survive in an emergency situation and not help the patient. Then you have to run, you have to listen to the codes and all of it. We were not very confident that even after the training, whether we'll be help her in getting a job or not. But the girl's confidence and the grit compelled us to enroll her. We enrolled her in a dialysis technician 2-year course. And this girl with 40% locomotor disability in her leg was placed in Motherland Hospital, Noida. I want to deliberately take name of the hospital because more such hospitals should be coming up in accepting persons with disabilities when nobody wanted to. And this girl is working for last 3 years there. Against all the odds, challenges, we didn't believe that she could do it. Hospitals were skeptical and she proved all of us experts wrong. And for me, Arisha is synonym for inspiration. So that's one story. Second story of a young child who is having a speech and hearing disability. And in one of our project locations in Mumbai, this boy was given a hearing aid. And for the first time, he heard the sound. And the teacher was spelling 1, 2, 3, 5. And he was for the first time listening to those words. And the expression was priceless. I can give away anything for that reaction which we saw on his face, the smile, the sparkle in the eyes. So these two experiences are very close to my heart, and especially the recent ones.
Do you really see that the way that CSR is approached right now, is there any change that has happened since Companies Act 2013? And if so, how? What is the change?
See, definitely 2013 onwards, CSR more money got pumped in, though this whatever funding is coming through CSRs, it's minuscule as compared to the government spending. But this has actually emerged as a career option now. Back in our time, social sector was not considered to be a lucrative option. Even now it is not. But at least the sector is able to pay decent salaries to individuals. And that's where we are seeing a lot of smart young boys and girls opting out for this sector and joining the sector. So definitely better influx of talent in the sector. Now, since this is mandate, the corporate professionals are also looking into it. Comms professional, HR professional, finance professional. Now they are looking at it from their own lenses and helping this program teams to make the program more professional in nature and have outcome-based programs designed, not a feel-good factor. So the sector has moved from designing programs which has emotional appeal and feel-good factor. Still, these are there, but the more focus is on outcome and impact that they are creating. So these things have changed over the period of years in the sector.
So a lot of changes has happened, and then you have been a witness to all of that. So you're the best person to sort of answer the next question. That is, Tech Mahindra as an organization, you have also established the monitoring and evaluation vertical in Tech Mahindra. For our listeners who have no understanding of what CSR space is or how impact evaluation is, why do you think measuring impact is necessary? Is it just about accountability or there is more to it?
Definitely accountability is there, and before impact comes monitoring and evaluation, right? So when I say monitoring and evaluation, not to see whether we are on the right track only, that's one part of it, but also to see whether we are on the right track, what we have planned, right? So planning vis-a-vis where we are making mistakes, what can be improved, rather than waiting for the program to get over and ask a third party to evaluate your program or to assess your program. It is always advisable to do continuous and regular monitoring so that the field team can get inputs which they are not able to realize when they are deep into the project. So data helps. So the monitoring and evaluation team collects data and give the intelligence to the program team. So that definitely helps, and definitely accountability also improves when you know where you are growing, where you are going in terms of your project deliverables.
I understand what it means, that how important is monitoring and learning and evaluation, because we at Sambodhi, we generate data-driven insights for our clients and our organization and communities that we work with. Education and employment are critical issues. They are sort of drivers of economic growth for India. So how do you, as an organization or as a foundation, you are able to maintain the sustainability and the long-term impact of these initiatives that you have undertaken?
So see, long term, everything that we build, it has to last, right? So build to last. But the one you asked me what good things happened after CSR law, but one bad thing also happened, that we have become impatient. We want to see results overnight. So if you ask a farmer to harvest a crop before the season, just by putting more water, more exposure to sunlight, and give more nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium to the plant, he cannot reduce the harvesting time by half, right? But unfortunately, this sector is witnessing those kind of approaches now. Now, if a project needs certain amount of time, that will be required. So for this sector, you need to stay invested in longer run. Only then you will be able to see sustainable efforts. Now, people come back and ask me, you have been implementing 5 years of teacher training now. And this was in 2018 when people started asking me that what is the point in continuing teacher education even after 5 years? So you don't have a sunset provision here and you cannot be running this institute forever. I said, why not? Right? Why not? If school exists, teacher exists, and if teacher exists, they have to continuously upgrade their skills. We might have to change the format in which we are changing. We might have to include technology. We might have to include new methodologies. We might have to pivot the program. But we have to be there. We have to stay invested in a program. So with this example of teacher training, we had a motto of creating happier classrooms where we were focusing only on classroom interaction between the child and the teacher, creating better classroom environment, giving better pedagogy expertise to the teachers. So that was happening. But when COVID struck, the game changed, right? Teachers were not equipped to train their students digitally. Cases of cyber abuse increased like anything. It was crazy. You would have seen news headlines, and children were getting abused inside their home, inside their own streets, Now, how do you expect a teacher to maneuver that? So we started including not just happier classroom, but a student has to be safe also, right? While with the teacher. So we started safety related trainings. So creating happier and safer classrooms now. Now we train teachers on first aid also, realizing the importance that teacher spends 6, 7, 8 hours with the kid. And schools are prone to injuries, children play and they might get hurt. So how do a teacher help? Because we don't have first aid and these kind of facilities in the school. How can we equip a teacher to help students in overcoming abuse? So everything changes. You have to stay invested, stay relevant, and stay invested for a long run. Then only you can achieve long-term sustainability. Otherwise, overnight, things doesn't change. You can change the mindset of an individual, but overall societal changes, systemic changes, if you want to see, then you have to stay invested.
So you did mention about COVID-19 and how it was a game changer. So are there any stories where, in terms of employment, because obviously you have to train the people on site when it comes to healthcare professional, so you have to train them. So how was COVID a game changer for you in that front? And as well as, like you mentioned, education. So we would focus more on the employment programs. How was it a game changer there?
No, it was a game changer. In fact, nobody knew what to do at that point in time. So collaboration happened to another level. Hospitals started reaching out because they were facing shortage of manpower, and migrants were losing their job. So migrants were coming back to their home. So what we did, we reached out to migrants who were out of the job. They came back to their cities, and hospitals were looking out for people. So we designed a training program of 15 days on hospital hygiene assistant. We trained migrants on that and placed them with the hospitals. So people who were looking out for livelihood because they were not able to survive without job or without livelihood, and hospitals were not able to perform without manpower. So that's how both problems were solved, and it was a win-win situation for hospitals and for migrants.
So how many states?
This we did in 4 states where we have our own healthcare, 3 states to be precise: Punjab, Delhi and Maharashtra. We have healthcare academies in these 3 states. So we trained almost 2,000 hospital hygiene assistants during that time. And also our skill of training people in healthcare, we utilized to upskill nurses and doctors during that time. So we trained many nurses from Mumbai Municipal Corporation so that they can help doctors on COVID protocol management and ICU related issues. So that's how it worked.
So you were talking about collaboration. So how important is collaboration for a CSR foundation like yours?
It is. See, even today, largely we have been a partner implemented organizations where we invited NGOs. But 2016 onwards, we had a mixed portfolio. Now 40% is directly implemented and 60% is still implemented by the partners. So collaboration, there is no way without collaboration. It's a short recipe to perish if we believe that we are experts. And in our teacher training institutes, we have our in-house experts, 14, 15 experts are there. But still there are issues which we feel that we can't be doing on our own, like mental health. We partner with Fortis and Macmillan on that, who are the experts, right? So collaboration is the key to succeed.
So when you're talking about mental health, what exactly is that aspect in your teacher training programs?
So we are doing long duration counseling courses for teachers where they just not think about their mental health, but also give them tools to understand mental well-being of their children. Because children in government school, they come from difficult backgrounds most of the time. So they need to understand the psyche of the children coming from difficult backgrounds and accordingly deal with it. We can't be having clinical counselors in all the schools. So teachers are given basic tools and tips to understand and to help their children and to identify severe cases, which can then be referred to the clinical counselor.
So Tech Mahindra Foundation has been in the CSR space now for a decade. So what does, in your opinion, the next decade for the CSR space look like?
Yes, you see, very interesting. The sector is taking its own course. Till date, the narrative was set by multinational and bilateral organizations working in India. And it was a narrative that these are the organizations which can do social sector related interventions the best. And probably some of the grassroots organizations that have very small outreach, very localized pocket, a particular NGO working in Chadwal block of Udaipur. That was the narrative. But now with CSR coming in, we see that India is building its own understanding of the sector and not following the routine norms which are probably taken from the developed world, how they got developed. And India has a different topography, geography, and the entire dynamic system within the communities, within the villages, rural, urban, digital divide. So now we have understood the sector very well, and CSR is pumping in the money. So next decade, I see will be more flourishing in terms of not just feel-good projects, but very systematically designed projects, having very systematically designed indicators to be tracked. And we will see better social return on investment in next decade, like we saw in the last decade. So it will be a better outcome-based social sector systemic things will happen. Then I definitely see collaborations going on. Now the sector has realized after COVID that there is no way without collaboration. Or we might just be creating a bubble like microfinance institutions did in 2008, 9 and 10. Skilling can be another bubble if organizations do not align with the government and with each other. So collaboration will have to be the key in next 10 years. And then use of technology to the best. Because corporates have learned to use the technology. Sector is slow in adoption because of cost also, but also a mindset shift is required. So definitely these three things: more structured approach, more money coming in, more collaborations, and best use of IT.
So what do you mean when you mentioned skilling is a bubble? So what exactly is that?
See, it's a bubble like in microfinance institution, there was multiple lending happening in 2007 and 8. Nobody knew a particular individual would have taken loan from 5 different MFIs, microfinance institutions. Now the capacity to repay back the loan depends on how many loans have you taken. There was no system to track it down. Therefore, this bubble happened in Andhra Pradesh, right? And then the whole system was formed that, okay, multiple lending should not be happening. The organization microfinance institutions must have a common platform where they can align and see the portfolio of a particular person who is taking a loan. Similarly with the skilling, students are jumping from one center to another, from one location to another, and taking up all kind of skill development courses and ultimately doing something else in their career.
So even vocational training that you give is so short term.
Short term, and when it is free of cost, then the skin in the game is very less. So definitely organizations will have to align and collaborate on that front. If there is a center existing in street 1 of Ashok Nagar, it's my responsibility to figure out one center already exists. I should not be opening up another center just because there is a mandate coming in. The ultimate objective is to train youth who are not employed from that particular locality. If somebody else is doing, just join forces with them. Why to set up your own center? So by bubble, I meant to say this.
In terms of managing the impact of the foundation, what kind of support do you think you need to help you do your good work better?
Yeah, so the more the merrier. The gaps I see in this sector, no organization is perfect and they will never be perfect. Because every organization has its own DNA and with their own expertise, they come and help in improving the program. So to me, I believe in this sector, we lack storytellers. That's one area where we lag. We have many, many stories, but we don't know how to tell. And probably there are shortage of storytellers in this sector. So I have seen many a times, if you hear a story, you might switch your sector also. We have seen many engineers just in a spur of moment, they listen to a story and then they switch to social sector. So that's the power of storytelling. So one thing. Second, we need more and more tech startups coming up because technology is very expensive, even if we change our mindset. And because technology helps you scale in no time. So I would request if there are tech startups working in this sector, they should be investing their time in social indicators also and not just solve business problems. Third is good solid understanding of research, monitoring and evaluation. So we lack understanding even in best of the best companies. When we interact with them, we don't find depth in what they say. So organizations like Sambodhi and others, we have very few numbers in the country. So if many organizations comes up, there will be enough and more work for everybody in next 10 years.
Thank you so much, Sajid, for the discussion and interview. It was great having a discussion with you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you for having me on the show.